Every single time that I want to get into a topic, we just get derailed horribly. But apparently, there is a very large channel called Hope Through Prophecy that is asking whether or not Christians should play video games. Now, I'm not a Christian, but I do have Christians in my audience. And I was a Christian for 18 years, so maybe I'll have some contention. Who knows? Who knows? Let's see. Let's see what they have to say. I like the music in there. I really do.
This is Dustin with Hope Through Prophecy. Please subscribe to this channel to better understand Bible prophecy and be prepared for these last days.
These last days. Haven't we been in the last days for, like, forever? Like, is there a functional time where we have not been in the last days? I have to ask. Because every single time I deal with a Christian apologist of some kind, they are always telling me that we're in the last days. The last days are coming. But I think people have been hearing this for, like, 2,000 years. When do the last days end? Because they've apparently been going on for a very long time.
Are video games just harmless fun? Or has our nation lost its mind? In response to recent tragic mass shootings, President Trump has identified video games as a contributing factor.
Wait, your source is Trump? Oh my. I think I know exactly what kind of video we're going to be getting into. If the source is going to be Donald Trump, I have no words. I have no words. But apparently we need to deal with this research from known researcher Donald Trump.
The video games, the movies, the internet stuff is so violent. It's so incredible. I see it. I get to see things that you'd be amazed at. I have a very young son who I look at some of the things he's watching and I say, how is that possible?
What do you mean possible? What games are you letting Barron play, Trump? What games are you letting him play that you don't understand how they're even possible? Okay, you know what? He's probably not going to give any examples because he's Trump and he doesn't know how. So we'll just continue.
And this is what kids are watching.
Is the president overreacting?
Yep.
Are video games really that big of a deal?
Nope.
Should Christians play video games? Before we answer these questions, let us consider some key principles.
Oh boy, instead of actually going over the data, we are going to begin with axioms. That's definitely how we know this is going to be an honest conversation. He's gonna be a sophist.
The mind is the center of moral decision making.
Okay.
The mind is the headquarters of our entire life. It is with the mind that we choose to follow or reject God. And our mind is
actually, we don't choose to follow or reject God in our mind. That's not a decision we get to make. You don't get to choose your beliefs. The psychology behind this is actually pretty decently understood. All of that happens in the subconscious, and then you merely act upon it later. But one of the things you don't get to choose is an actual belief. If you believe you can choose a belief, then I ask you to believe that Australia doesn't exist right now. Go ahead. Do it. And not for the Flat Earthers. You guys are already lost.
Responsible for all of our life decisions. Therefore, it is absolutely essential that we protect and nurture our mind at all costs. The mind controls the whole person, our entire body. All the activities it does, good or evil, are controlled by the mind.
Okay.
To gain control of the mind is to gain control of the whole person. The mind of our youth is under attack.
Wait, the mind of our youth is under attack? Please explain.
Of influences are competing for the mind of young people today. Worldly powers realize that the mind is the seat of one's decision-making and actions.
Wait, worldly powers. Hold on. Is this gonna turn into, like, the globalists are hijacking your mind with the video games that secrete their fluids into the water to turn the frogs gay? Is that where this is gonna go?
Therefore, we must critically analyze popular activities and their effect on the mind. We would be foolish to assume that the mass media and other worldly entities have the best interest of our youth at heart.
And we would be equally foolish to assume that the church does as well.
We should also realize that just because everyone else is doing it does not make it safe.
Well, yeah, that would be argumentum ad populum. There's other reasons to agree, like, you know, data.
The Bible tells us that the path to life is narrow, and few there be that find it. We must be critical consumers and test all of our activities by the principles of God's Word.
So, I know this isn't what he meant, but I want to go ahead and point out that the path to life being narrow and few of us being able to actually get to it, I know that in his example, he's saying the path to life as in the path to, like, eternal life, the path to immortality because of heaven, but the way I read it was that there's 1,000 sperm and only one of them get to the egg. Because the path to life is narrow. Also, that is not the smile of a sane person. Like, at all.
There's no doubt that gaming is widespread in today's society.
I'm at the mall right now in Texas, close to where I live. And I noticed that they have these video games right in the center aisle of the mall, just open for kids, for anyone to jump on and play.
Yeah, that tends to happen. Also, nice Halo arcade game. When did Halo get an arcade game?
This particular game is called Halo. And for those of you who are familiar with Halo, it's a very violent game, very popular game. But you'll notice that this game is just open for children, anyone to just come and sit down.
Okay, yeah, but see, that's not Halo. That's Halo Fireteam Raven. And I guarantee you that if I were to look up Halo Fireteam Raven specifically, that it would be a little different than, say, Halo 1 or 2 or ODST. Like, at the end of the day, you're firing fictional guns at aliens, and I'm fairly certain that in that arcade version, some of the blood and everything might even be toned down, but there's no gore or anything in Halo either. Like, realistically, it's only violent because guns are there. And I don't see this as being all of that important. But let's continue.
And this has really become prevalent. These violent video games just being a major part of our culture.
So the violent video games being a major part of our culture, bad. But, sir, I have a question. Have you considered the violence in the Bible? There's literally a story in there where a guy goes around cutting off people's foreskins. That's not violent to you? God wipes everybody out in a global flood, and this is part of your children's stories. That's not... Millions of people drowning to death isn't violent to you? Oh no, but Spaceman shooty, that bad. That's very bad.
Colleagues conducted research showing that youth who played violent video games had several observable characteristics. One was reduced concentration and attention. This is a great concern for young people. They need to have strong attention and concentration to succeed in school.
So, wait a minute. They observed that youth who played violent video games had reduced concentration and attention. Do you have a link to your source? Shocking data. We're talking about data, right? Right? Okay. American Psychiatric Association Diagnostic Statistic Manual of Mental Disorders. Is it just this? Is this all you have? Moreover, your point is that they need to Read and understand the Bible. Wait. This isn't a paper. This isn't a paper at all. This is a fucking book sale. This is your source? This isn't an accredited paper. This is a fucking book that a guy's trying to sell you. That is not a good primary source, you dingus. What the fuck? Oh, you fucker. Okay. Come on, let's continue.
And to learn and understand the Bible. The study also showed that these youth had decreased
Don't let them
emotional-
play the violent video games! They won't be able to learn and understand their Bibles! I can tell you right now that I played violent video games growing up, and I absorbed my Bible a lot. I went to extra classes, I went to church over and above what I did at my school because I went to a Christian private school. I played violent video games, and I was still a very, very vigilant Christian during that time. The games I play now are less violent than the ones I played when I was a kid, and I'm an atheist now.
Involvement. This can directly affect how young people relate to their parents and to others. God created us to be emotional beings.
Yeah, he did. And you know the things that have given me some of the greatest emotions in the entire world? Video games. Here, spoiler alert. Back when I was a kid, I had no way of knowing that certain voice acting or acting was bad for any characters. Moments of genuine sadness for me as a kid, where my emotions were incredibly just pulled. Okay? Spoiler warning for a lot of games, Chrono Trigger. Chrono's death in Chrono Trigger fucked with me as a kid. Let me go ahead and see other things here. When Sonic dies in Sonic Adventure 2, and when Shadow dies in Sonic Adventure 2, those things screwed with me. That stuff pulled on my emotional heartstrings. Steve Burnside's death in Resident Evil Code Veronica did not sit well with me. Barry Burton's death in one of the endings for Resident Evil 1 did not sit well for me. One of those is a violent video game by most people's standards. Honestly, I don't... dude. Please, make a good point. I'm begging you.
And to relate to each other in a warm and loving way. We should avoid anything that would harm our ability to do this.
Okay, but violent video... Oh god, that is nightmare fuel! I must not see it! I must not see it! I see no evil. I see no evil. That is horrible. That is the worst freeze frame. It's still there.
As a school teacher for 9 years, I can testify that all of these characteristics were clearly observable in many of my students.
All of these characteristics in many of your students. So that is 2 layers of anecdote. One, the fact that it was observable by you, a single individual, not actually a strong point of data. And 2, many is an unquantifiable term. Many of your students could mean 3 out of 100. I'm sorry, dude. Moreover, do you think that it was it's just the video games that made them not be able to pay attention in class? Dude, have you considered maybe that you were just a boring fucking teacher? Did that not occur to you? So, like, for those who don't know, right, one of my favorite teachers when I was in high school was my history teacher, Mr. Novotny. So much so that I have had him on my channel to talk about issues with the United States public education system. I was playing violent video games back then. Hell, I was playing Duke Nukem religiously. And you know what? my attention span was certainly not hindered in his class, because unlike you, he was a good fucking teacher. He was able to actually make lessons entertaining. But, you know, go on. It's the video games that are the reason that your kids are bored in your class. That's them. That's gotta be it. Couldn't possibly be you. No.
Dr. Matthew also observed that children who played violent video games had less inhibition of impulses.
That can come down to a lot of factors. But again, your source for this is shit. Your source for this is a grifter's book. Not actually... There's not even a fucking abstract. That's not a good source.
As Christians, we are striving to control our impulses with God's help so that we can be in harmony with His requirements. It is simply not wise to allow activities in our lives that would weaken our self-control.
Well, I'm sorry, everyone, to involve you in any activities that would maybe weaken your self-control. Anywho,
consider this eye-opening video clip. It shows how video games are actually used to train soldiers.
Yes, because you know what else is used to train soldiers? Movies. You know what else is used to train soldiers? Books. Any medium that can communicate an idea can be used to train an individual in anything. Dude, this is not a good point.
Well, you see, it's an integral part of our training. To make killing a conditioned response is part of modern training. We've got to do it. Healthy people have to be trained to kill, and the video games do the same thing to the kids. Healthy people have to be trained to kill, and the video games do the same thing to the kids.
Who is this person, and why does this point matter? Like, who is this, and why should I care? Dude, moreover, your source for this, okay? I know where this news clip is from, because you at least did put it in your description. These clips are from Fox News. Fox News. You know, that entertainment channel that hosts people like Tucker Carlson, who we are legally not able to take seriously. Dude, you need to get better at grabbing, like, good, strong, primary sources for your information.
Now, do I believe that video games are fully to blame for the violence in today's society? Or that anyone who plays video games will commit crimes? Of course not. There's many complex factors that lead to this.
Yeah, which is why this whole point is bullshit.
But the research does show a clear correlation between violent gaming and undesirable thought patterns and behavior.
So, who gets to determine what's a desirable thought pattern or behavior? That's my first question. Secondly, you do understand that correlation does not equal causation, right? You understand, at least on some level, right, that this is the post hoc ergo propter hoc fallacy? Like, it doesn't matter that you have correlative data unless you have causal factors. Then you don't have anything. Not functionally here.
Evan Ramsey, others like, some of these other killers, Dylan Klebold, Eric Harris of Columbine, were steeped in these games, Adam Lanza.
The Norway.
You know what else they were steeped in? Here, let me show you. Let me go do a few things, okay? You know what else they were steeped in? Movies. Books. Verbal communication. They probably also ate cereal. Guys! Tricks are for killers. This is the problem with correlation. You cannot grab causation out of it. There are multiple things that led to these people doing shit. And I know I know you paid lip service to understanding that. But paying lip service to understanding it doesn't mean you actually get it. Like, again, Fox News. Why? Why is Fox News and a grifter book your source?
Killer trained on those. He said he trained on them. 69 dead on island in Norway, and he spent a year training on video games to prepare himself for this crime.
Wait, hold on. So, I got a question. If he trained himself on video games to be ready for the shooting, does that not automatically imply that he was trying to do the shooting first and then use the video game as a medium to train? Does it not follow that the ideology came first and then the video game came second? Like with the Columbine shooting, people tried to blame Doom for the shooting, the video game, Doom, when they had already set out, because they had a freaking white supremacist ideology, or at least close to it. And when they set out with that ideology, they used Doom to train. They created a replication of their high school for the purposes of training themselves to engage in the Columbine shooting. And they used Doom to do it. But the ideology came first. Doom just became a tool. Now, I hate to have the conversation with conservatives about how guns are tools, and video games are also tools in these instances, because then we might not come to the same agreements on what should be done about these things. But let's continue.
The killer in Florida, he spent 15 hours a day on violent video games. The most all-consuming, all-pervasive thing in this guy's life are these violent video games. And less than a year ago, the American...
So, the person here is Lieutenant Colonel Dave Grossman, author of Assassination Generation. Let's take a look at that real quick. Okay. Assassination Generation. Oh! Propaganda against video games. That's your source. Okay. Do you not know what makes a good source? Do you not know how to, like, grab somebody that has well-cited literature? Is that just a thing you don't understand?
The American Psychological Association made a definitive statement. There is a clear, unequivocal link between violent video games, violent behavior. Their blood pressure goes up, their heart rate goes up, violent actions go up. The data is persistent and clear across many different forms. You cannot deny it.
Is it, though? Because last time I checked, the data was incredibly inconclusive. Like, anybody can lie on TV, especially on Fox News.
The American Psychiatric Association provides us with additional insights into the effects of gaming. They reveal that gaming can even lead to addiction, and that certain gamers who had their video games taken away experience some of the same withdrawal symptoms as drug addicts.
And again, okay, so if you have this is how all addiction works, though, right? If I'm addicted to reading books and you take away my ability to read books, the same thing happens. If I'm addicted to watching movies and you take away the movies, the same thing happens. If I'm addicted to a hobby and you take away the hobby, that happens as well. This is not a unique thing to video games. Like, at all.
I imagine there's parents watching who can attest to this fact.
Again, the parents would be anecdotes. That doesn't matter.
Dr. Dunkley's research showed that gaming overstimulates and damages the frontal lobe of the brain.
Whose research?
Gaming overstimulates.
Dr. Dunkley's research. Who is Dr. Dunkley? Let's take a look. Dr. Dunkley, MD, Integrative Child Adult Psychiatrist. Okay. 5 stars with your 1 Google review. Okay. The Overstimulated Child. Okay, this is a resource. Is this a paper? No, it's a video. Well, that's not something we care about. I want a research paper. Can I get a research paper? Here. You know what? Let's take this into Google Scholar. Can I please get a research paper from this guy? that would be excellent. Predictors of anti-naive treatment, naive patients. Is there anything... Alzheimer's stuff? It's not on the front page here. I mean, granted, there's more pages. I'm starting to believe this is another grifter. I'm really starting to believe this is somebody who doesn't actually have, like, good citations and good accreditations for this.
And damages the frontal lobe of the brain.
What way does it damage
this
the frontal lobe?
Because the brain identifies what it perceives to be dangerous situations in these video games and activates the body's fight or flight systems.
Yeah, that happens with practically any media, though. You're arguing against media. At all.
What then happens is blood is drawn away from the frontal lobe toward the lower areas of the brain that are needed for survival. This damage to the frontal lobe is especially critical for Christians because the frontal lobe is the part of the brain where we make our moral decisions.
So you're saying that the damage from video games is stronger than any influence your God could have on someone's morality? That's sad.
Damage to this area can potentially lead to us separating from God and...
Guys, don't play Halo! It will separate you from God! Resident Evil! It will separate you from the Jeebus! The frontal lobe! That's the part where Jesus resides! We found it! The God gene! It's in the frontal lobe, everyone!
missing out on eternity. In addition, video games have the effect of distancing us from reality.
Yeah, that's sometimes a good thing. Some of us escape reality in video games, because fuck reality.
They take us to a fantasy world. They weaken our desire to study the Bible and to deal with the realities of life.
Does it? Have you not considered that studying your Bible is equally an escape? Like, your Bible is just as much media as a video game is. And it's just as violent as the most violent video game possible, if not more so. I can't think of a video game that involves cutting off people's foreskins in the middle of war. So, have you ever considered, maybe, that you're just angry that somebody has a healthy escape, and you desperately want them to go to the Bible for their escape? That's your reasoning. That's what you got. This is depressing.
So what does the Bible say about video games?
Nothing! The Bible... Video games didn't happen 2,000 years ago! This is a fucking meme! This screenshot right here? This is a meme!
Does it give us principles and guidelines that are relevant to this topic? We read in Philippians 4:8.
Ah! Philippians 4:8. Ah, yes! The chapter wherein Paul discovers Halo 2 for the first time. And upon discovering Halo 2 and playing online with the Apostle Peter, when the Apostle Peter told Paul that he fucked his mother, that was when Paul knew that video games were bad, and that Peter needed to be crucified upside down, for he had lost his way, not unlike when he denied Christ 3 times.
Finally, brethren, whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are of good report, if there be any virtue, and if there be any praise, think on these things. Friends, this is the standard, the litmus test.
None of that had anything to do with video
all of
games.
our activities. Unfortunately, the majority of video games do not pass this Bible test.
The Bible test! For video games! Okay.
A great number of video games are filled with violence, sex, or other harmful content,
So is the Bible!
and are thus in direct violation of this principle. David says, I will set no wicked thing before mine eyes.
Oh, did he? Okay, cool. Then we can ignore the rest of this video, because that's what I consider this video. Glad you gave me an ample ability to dismiss everything else you could say. Jesus Christ. So, what did you guys think? Because I feel like I'm having a brain hemorrhage right now. I really do. This is horrible. I feel like the people who made this video should be embarrassed. Like, yes, media has an effect on our brain. The media we consume has an effect on what we do. Yes, this is true of all media. If all the media you consume showcases gay people to be immoral and deserving of burning in hell, then you inevitably are probably going to believe that when you grow up. That's what happened with me with the Bible, literally. So yeah, there is at least a tiny bit of validity here. But video games are not going to suddenly just make people just throw away their Bibles. Unless you're talking about video games that specifically deal with stuff like this, like, oh, I don't know, maybe like Final Fantasy X. When everybody discovers, spoiler alert for Final Fantasy X, when everybody discovers that so much of their world need not be the way it is so long as they reject the god of sin, like, just, there are specific bits of media that I'm sure could, but this whole, like, psychological apologetic that the video games damage your frontal lobe, and that's the place where God is. So you have to protect it. Protect your frontal lobes, otherwise you're gonna burn in hell. Just... I can't handle it anymore. I really can't. But, yeah, if you guys enjoyed this video and you want to support what I do, then please go ahead and check the description below. You will find links to my Patreon and everything else. If you like the video, please go ahead and leave a like, maybe share it with your friends, and also please hit the subscribe button if you have not already. That would be greatly appreciated. And as always, everyone, insert into video tagline here.